initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only wakes us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Napoleon another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All about the Betty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Betty Express. In a beautiful darkness.
Well, you guys, we do need to catch up on the Clancy trial, but it is Sunday and we don't need to hurt ourselves, was kind of my thought. So I figured we would skip to the part that we have, the part that makes me wish I didn't get to Hulk smash everything on Friday and stayed. Although we are skipping the Commonwealth's direct of their Hexpert, I think, is what they were trying to say he was. Now, we are going to watch at regular speed because there have been allegations that the Commonwealth was attempting to use some sort of Laura Owens Gingras alleged in Minecraft signalification to kind of help his testimony, like a little like shortstop coach over here, kind of thing. So we are going to be watching I've sort of watched ahead for the highlights, but I definitely, have not, watched all of it. I basically, I checked out yesterday. I, helped my husband with some chores that I'd been avoiding, um, transparently in a craptastic mood. Like, I don't know what was wrong. I felt bad for Mr. Mo. I do have these days where for no reason that I can ascertain or enunciate in any way, I just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. So he was still nice and took me to Hobby Lobby, which thank you. And it let me basically craft all day. You guys, I have made last week. Well, these are going to be definitely used for forever, but my own red flags. And just for the Commonwealth, my bow tomorrow and my red flags just for you involve unicorns. So the unicorns that help you put together this case, they're represented. This is my drama llama uh red flag. Look, I'm having way too much fun is basically all I'm saying. Look, I'm not a therapistologist or whatever, but for me, give me some crafty stuff and an afternoon and okay, in total nerd confession, if you guys wanna know what I listen to while I'm crafting, deep psychological analysis of Game of Thrones, a show I've never watched, but I like the deep psychological analysis part of scenes and the dissection. I I do need a black flag, but the only flags that they had when I saw them at Hobby Lobby were pastels, so, I am trying to use up current stock and, uh on a side note, since we're tangenting just a bit, um, after this trial is done, we are still gonna be doing mornings with Mo. I will still have videos that come out on this channel, but I am going to retreat to Mo in the Craft End, my second channel, and do some live streaming and crafting and possibly set up a website or something where you guys can buy because Mr. Mo's like, "Okay, I love all your little doodads. They're beautiful." And I'm like, "Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete?" And he's like, "No, no, I will allow you to create all this stuff, but it will need to leave my house." So, all that is to say that I will be thinking about, having a place or space, available if you wanna buy tchotchkes made by Mo, then we can look at it. It is right now at the Fig Newton, stage of my brain. So, this is more of like a waking daydream kind of plan. I haven't done any of the numbers, that's a Mr. Mo job, but I do have to collect all receipts and start looking and researching different things. So, just a sort of sprinkle thought. But let's get into this. I've waited. I didn't watch ahead. I have seen highlights though, because I wanted to watch with you and you guys get our honest reactions of this doofus.
That you're being asked to evaluate for purposes of an opinion regarding criminal responsibility or lack thereof for the district attorney's office, correct?
What do you mean by investigate?
You don't know what investigate means? You want me to explain that to you?
You might.
You're a psychiatrist that's in.
Wait a minute. I have to watch the judge. We're not even 30 seconds in. Is the investigation in the room with you? Do you understand? Someone get this man a Merriam-Webster's dictionary. What in the unicornosis is going on here? Commonwealth. What would you say you do here? When your expert has trouble with the word investigate.
Do you want me to explain that to you?
You might.
You're a psychiatrist.
Look at Judge Donahue. Judge Springer Donahue is over here. What? Look at him look at the Commonwealth. He is staring down the Commonwealth like that meme of the Indian father at the sports ball game with the vest. Oh, sir, you picked the wrong haircut to be arrogant about. And I usually say this, like, you have a good a good head for being bald. It's not divity, but ugh.
Psychiatrist that's employed by the district attorney, right?
Retained by, yes.
Oh, okay, so we're going to talk semantics. Isn't employed by, retained by, mean that you get money from it, right?
I'm paid for my time, yes.
Exactly. And normally I don't even go there.
Like a schmostitute. Great. We're all ladies of the night in some way or the other. But thank you for admitting it, sir.
Every one of us are getting paid for our time. Jurors not so much, but nevertheless, you get paid for your time, right?
K-Shred putting on a comedy routine. What is up with the... Okay, why are... The closed captions are not lining up here.
Correct.
I get paid for my time. The judge, Chrissy, Don, everybody gets paid for their time, right?
I imagine, yes.
So when you are retained by the district attorney's office, you are to evaluate an individual, right?
Yes.
And the individual in this case is Lindsay Clancy, correct?
Yes.
And you recognize her, do you not?
I do.
And you actually had a chance to meet with her and do your evaluation, right?
Okay, I'm going to see if Law and Crime has better audio because the court pterodactyl is trying to kill me. And we might just be stuck with the high-pitched background noise, but let me see if Law and Crime doesn't have it. I didn't even realize I was on Court TV today. It has been. It's a Sunday miracle. Or I've been exposed to too many glue fumes. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. All right. Boost this one. Now, there are some people that watched this man's testimony and said he did a really good job. Now, thus far, I am not seeing what they're seeing. We got a little, I don't even want to hear the Commonwealth today. So. No, it looks like we're stuck with the pterodactyl.
Hi, Mr. Reddington.
Okay, closed captions just must be off.
Dr. Mack, part of your evaluation would be an intent to investigate the person that you're being asked to evaluate for purposes of an opinion regarding criminal responsibility or lack thereof
No.
for the district attorney's office, correct?
What do you mean by investigate?
You don't know what investigate means? You want me to explain that to you?
You want
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Commonwealth, is there a unicorn in the room right now? Like this man's career. Soon to be extinct and non-existent. I mean, asking for a friend.
You're a psychiatrist that's employed by the district attorneys, right?
retained by, yes.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna talk semantics. Isn't employed by, retained by, mean that you get money from it, right?
I'm paid for my time, yes.
Exactly. And normally, I don't even go there. Every one of us are getting paid for our time. Jurors, not so much, but nevertheless, you get paid for your time, right?
Correct.
I get paid for my time. The judge, Chrissy, Don, everybody gets paid for their time, right?
I imagine, yes.
So when you are retained by the district attorney's office, you are to evaluate an individual, right?
Yes.
And the individual in this case is Lindsay Clancy, correct?
Yes.
And you recognize her, do you not?
I do.
And you actually had a chance to meet with her and do your evaluation, right?
Yes.
And part of your evaluation, you had to investigate into who she was. For example, her education, what she did for work, friends, family, right?
I asked her about her life and I reviewed records to learn about her life, yes.
Okay. So you're in a
Notice the very clear distinction here, and I do want to bring some insight comparatively to the other experts. Now, to point out, the defense experts, the mental health experts that have testified in this case have probably spent more time with Lindsay than any other experts of mental health that I've seen in a trial in the 4 to 5 years I've been watching trials. However, the ancillary sort of collateral witness investigation is something that we heard about in the Athena Strand trial. So, in the Athena Strand trial, even clinicians who did not meet Tanner would investigate and talk to family members, go back and talk to teachers if they were available. For Tanner Horner. So this is not outside of normal things. In fact, this is a piss poor job. Most forensic evaluators will do collateral interviews to try to get a view of the person that is not self-reported, because people cannot be the most reliable narrators when they report. So collateral interviews, collateral witnesses, these are standard parts of evaluating someone's mental state in order to opine whether or not they were mentally, responsible or guilty in a legal sense.
mental institution investigating or questioning a woman who's on medication, who is there because she's suicidal and under 101 24/7 observation. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And you get the history from her?
Yes.
So did you talk to any collateral?
No, I legitimately, I cannot tell you how this has I have not seen this in any trial. And I watch trials for fun, okay, you guys? Like, the amount of trials that I watch and things that I just do for fun in a nerdy type of way, this is anathema to everything that an expert would do. This is laughable. Interesting. Oh, well, I was supposed to be, doing this yesterday, but then I went to Hobby Lobby and I was admittedly in a, foul mood, and I didn't want to this case is already one that has brought out a lot of negativity and hatred, and the last thing I wanted to do yesterday was bring out any more. I know we can roast this man's lack of professionalism and his absolute arrogance, but what I didn't wanna do was let my bad mood, bring more negativity to everyone.
Contacts.
No.
So how is it that you can tell this jury what her life story is? Did you get it from her?
I got it from her
What
to
did
the
she
extent
tell you
that,
about her
well, I'm
education?
sorry,
What did she tell you
what, can you
about
say
her-
your,
Never mind looking at the judge. What did she tell you about the education?
Wait, listen. You look over there and listen to the question and answer the question.
Can you say the question,
Let him
please?
answer the question.
What did she tell you about, I'm sorry.
Ask the question,
What did she
answer
tell
the
you?
question.
Oh my god, all of you. This is like Friday Night Live. I love all of us, but we all have weaponized ADHD allegedly in Minecraft. God save us for my evaluation of the situation. But dear God, wait for the entire statement to be done, then talk. All of you. Reddington, I love you, but you are the worst offender at jumping in. And as a person who has jump-in-itis, you just have to fight it, dude. I get it, but you have to fight it.
We'll go from there.
What did she tell you about her education?
She described her education in terms of being a hard worker through high school and college and then going to nursing school.
Okay, where'd she go to nursing school?
I think the nursing school was through Partners Healthcare, I think at the
The lip smack. I swear to goodness, I may never again in my lifetime do a Boston trial. I just can't with the lip smack. And I want to go, I want to watch the civil trial, possibly go watch the civil trial in person if all things line up. But dear God, the lip smacking. I will turn the trial around and no one's getting a Frosty. No, I changed my edict. I'm getting a Frosty. I'm eating it in front of everyone, and no one else is getting a Frosty. That's what the judge feels like right now.
GH.
And do you recall what the nature of the nursing was?
Well, she had always wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse, and she was able to achieve that.
So she worked as a labor and delivery nurse?
That's my understanding, yes.
For a period.
No, I was channeling the judge. The judge just had to tell Reddington to stop interrupting the witness when he was being dumb, even though I think Reddington has a high allergy to stupid. But then the Commonwealth decided to jump in. So basically the judge was presiding over a kindergarten class for a minute. And I imagined him being a worn out, tired mom who just said, okay, fine, I'm turning the car around and no one's getting a Frosty. To which I said, that never works. How you need to teach the children is only mom gets a Frosty because she was behaving well. No, I'm just kidding. Do not do that. That's not appropriate.
Period of time?
For several years, yes.
9 years, 7 years?
I'm not sure exactly.
Did you talk to any of the nurses that you work with? I mean, was she respected? Was she a hard worker? Was she somebody that was ducking out early, didn't want to work?
I didn't talk to any of her colleagues. I'm aware that she had been there for some time, and I did not hear about any aspects in which her work was deleterious.
Who would you hear from, them?
Well, one might have heard it from the notes from her spouse.
Oh my God, Ralphie Wiggum, the expert over here, doesn't even have the sense to know, I'm in danger. He's like, no, I could have, I got it by osmosis, like the vibe from the husband's notes and the fact that she wasn't fired.
I might have heard it from
Let's
the
talk
defendant
about
herself.
let's talk about one might have heard it. Is the one you? You're testifying.
Yes.
Did you hear about it through the notes of the
Jess Machado has entered the courtroom. The royal we is in use. How did you go one and you decided to third person yourself in the courtroom? Oh, Lord. Oh, he decided to go on a semantic journey in which he was ill-equipped. Yeah, yeah. Have you testified before? What would you say you do here, sir?
House?
No, I didn't hear about any way in which her work
Okay, so why are you
wasn't.
telling me that? Why are you saying one might have heard about it through the notes of the spouse?
Well, I think your question was, how would one learn about any deleterious acts or components of the person's work? So I didn't hear about any way in which she wasn't working hard and retaining.
Because you didn't investigate. You wouldn't hear anything if you didn't investigate. So while on the surface your statement is true, it's also bullshit. Oh, this man would irritate the ever living hell out of me if I was stuck in a conversation with him.
As a nurse at an excellent institution.
So basically, you don't know, is what you're telling me. You don't know what her reputation for work ethic was. You don't know what her hours were. You don't know what her reputation in her work community was. You just don't know. Isn't that right?
Combined with the records and also the report from Dr. Resnick, who described her own view of herself as being a hard worker, I don't know further than that.
So in addition to being a labor and delivery nurse at Mass General Hospital for a number of years, you knew that she obviously was married, right?
Yes.
And her husband was Patrick, right?
Yes.
You know how many years she was married, right?
I do.
How many?
I don't know it offhand, but I believe I understand or knew the date when they were married, which may have been 2013.
So the fact that she was married, you know, that did she want to have kids or did she find them to be a burden?
She very much wanted to have children. She described that that was her lifelong interest.
Had one child, Cora, right?
I can't hear you.
The first child was Cora, right?
Yes.
Did she have any delivery issues with Cora?
Not that I recall.
How about the second child? What was the second child's name?
Dawson.
And how old was Dawson at the time of the incident, as we say?
I think he was around 4.
And did she have any issues with his delivery?
Do you mean the delivery or in the postpartum period?
I mean the delivery.
If I recall, I think she had a tear, which is called an episiotomy, and that was.
No, the episiotomy is when they do the cut so you don't tear. In fact, that is easier to stitch and heal from than a tear. She had I think a grade 3 or 4 tear, which is extensive. Okay, this is not, a little bad. From what they said, it was a 2 or 3, I believe, tear. So there was significant discomfort and healing involved in that. That was much more traumatic than an episiotomy, which is where they cut to prevent tear because it's easier to repair. And sorry to get graphic on a Sunday morning, but I've had 6 kids. This might be the only thing other than sarcasm that I'm legitly an expert in a layperson sort of way. So no, sir, no.
Something she was unhappy about.
Sure. Did she have medication prescribed to her after Dawson?
Sorry.
Do you mean psychiatric medication?
Sure.
At some point, I think she was prescribed an antidepressant medication in that period.
What was it?
I think it was sertraline.
And do you know whether she took it?
She has told us that she did not.
And when she went home,
Sir, how can you be bald and look somewhat like Viserys from Game of Thrones, yet be dumber than, well, everyone on Game of Thrones? I mean, or the writers in the last season. I don't know. But legitimately, how can you look like someone of great mental acumen, at least literally or in literary history? Yeah, your Uncle Fester. I am mildly amused, uh, as to how he thinks he's doing. Who thought he did a good job against Reddington? Who are these people? I I am very much concerned. What are you seeing that he did a great job on?
After having the baby, Dawson, she then came home to a little daughter, obviously Cora, had Dawson as an infant, correct?
Yes.
And was she living in a town, or where was she living when she had these two kids?
I think she was living in the same house in Duxbury.
She wasn't living in Weymouth, or?
She may have been. I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's all right. So at some point she moves to Duxbury, she's with her husband, and she goes back to work, does she?
Yes.
You didn't make any, in your investigation, you didn't come across any information that she didn't want to go back to work because she was lazy or just didn't want to work, right?
No, I think she always wanted to work.
Did she have,
No, you moron. Had you investigated, you would have known by basic reading of the material that all of Lindsay's manifestations of anxiety seemed to appear or become more pronounced to the point that they were noticeable when she was forced to go back to work after each of her children's births. She had a very acute attachment or normal attachment to her children and felt extreme loss, grief, and anxiety going back to work. Had you done even a cursory look at the pages and the history that you said that you went through, that would be apparent. What he's trying to get you to show the jury, he's not asking basically what Reddington is not asking this expert questions for the expert to answer them. He is illustrating to the jury that this man knows nothing. And this man and the Commonwealth are too stupid to realize it.
anxiety about going back to work after Callan, the third child?
After Callan?
Yeah, Callan. It's Callan, C-A-L-L-A.
Yes. Yes. She wanted to go back. As August and September arrived, she was hopeful to go back to work, but she became anxious about working. There were other factors too. She became anxious.
No other factors yet. We'll get to the other factors. Why was she anxious about going back to work?
I was about to say,
Go ahead.
she was anxious about the well-being and nurturance of her children as she went back to work. One being that the baby was not taking a bottle. Another, that in that span between the point that her husband went back to work and she was expected to go back to work, it was overwhelming to have 3 young children that she was caring for all by herself. As time went on, she was ambivalent about hiring somebody to help, hiring a nanny, and that was another area of anxiety.
Does he have heterochromia? Or is one eye just slightly shaped different than the other? Because my eye is seeing one eye is slightly darker than the other, but I think it's just shadowing. Sorry for this detour into, does he have different colored eyes? Or let me just pause it for my own personal inspection. Looks like same colored eyes, just weird shadowing.
So there were several areas of anxiety, and as we've discussed earlier today, anxiety was something that she had
Okay,
throughout
you know
her
what?
life.
I'm going to pull you in, okay? This is a cross-examination, sir. I gave you
All
a little
right,
rope.
next, just ask the next question.
So when you say that she had anxiety, and the anxiety was about having her youngest child, Callan, correct?
Yes,
She was anxious about going back to work, correct?
yes,
But you also, as you were waxing eloquently, indicated that she was having anxiety about having a nanny.
yes.
What was she anxious about with the nanny?
In my understanding,
No, what is your understanding? Tell the jury what you investigated about her anxiety with the nanny.
so through my evaluation, what I understood was that there was ambivalence about having a nanny, that is to say, having somebody who helped. There was some degree of wanting to be able to handle the children on her own. The other part of it is some ambivalence about other people other than herself or perhaps her mother caring for the children. Because I know that my evaluation discerned that she...
Sir, continuing to use the word evaluation as an attempt to cover up the fact that you didn't do an investigation is not helping. It just makes it sound like you took the Kamala Harris, public speaking class of word saladism. Notice that Dr. Zeisel and the other doctors didn't, say, well, back to my opinion, back to the 37 pages or, like rule books and symposia that I've covered. I, quoting myself, always say, notice the Commonwealth was the one that had to refer to authority, an authority that he wrote. The expert from the defense wrote the authority on the subject, and this man is using therapist words to say, well, I interpreted her feelings as such.
felt very positively about her ability to take care of her children.
Brooklyn, I will have to go back and watch. Honestly, we are watching Reddington shred this man as a catch-up. I will have to go back and watch the Commonwealth's odorous direct at some point. So I am not sure. I know he did visit her once, possibly twice, but I watched it on 2 times speed and didn't intake much other than offense. So I have to watch it again.
But also some ambivalence about other people taking care of the children.
What time frame are we talking about? Summertime, fall?
The end of summer, late August, early September.
Isn't it true that in the summer, she and Patrick and the kids felt that they were on top of the world, having a great summer, right?
Well, that's what she said. That's her quote.
Okay. And then come the fall.
You can't do that, sir. You cannot do that. You cannot then say, if you only relied on Lindsay for your authority, for her documentation and her to be the historian that you relied upon, then you can't go back and say, well, those are her words. You didn't do any evaluation of those. You took her words as gospel. So if you are calling into validity her words, you're calling into validity your entire, what's the word you keep using? Evaluation. It's a double-edged sword, sir. You can't use it as a Malton Bailey. It will just cut you both ways, allegedly in Minecraft and only in flowery language.
Towards the end of September, that's when she started to have symptoms of anxiety, right?
Yes.
Up to this point in your investigation, you have a young woman who was a nurse for a number of years, we assume, from your investigation, a good reputation as a hard worker, right?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, one of the things that you had mentioned is that she was, how about exercise? Did she like to do exercise?
Yes. In the past, exercise was her...
Yes, right? Yes?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure, I can repeat the question. I ask you, sir.
I'm objecting because he's interrupting the witness and not letting him answer
The question called for a yes or no answer. All right? And so, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Can you state the question, please?
Sure. You mentioned in direct examination for the DA that she was like to do exercise, correct?
Yes.
And would you consider a person who is an exercise aficionado, especially a woman who, for example, runs, let's say, a 5K or a 5-mile road race within about a couple of weeks after having a baby? Is that hyper-exercise? Is that hypomanic? Yeah.
In of itself, it's not hypomanic, no.
How about if there's a string of exercise that is a little bit out of the norm, coupled with decluttering, removing personal property from the home, cleaning out the home, things of that nature? Would that be hypomanic in your opinion?
Not in of itself, but are you talking, when you were asking...
Hyper. So they're both using the wrong term. Hypomanic would indicate, again, hypo, think down. So anytime you hear hypo as a prefix to anything medical, it means down or below average or below normal. Now, hyper, you're going to think up, hyper, obviously. But both of them were using the wrong term, and I think the expert is probably going to correct this here. So good on the expert for at least paying functional attention enough to realize they both were using the wrong terminology.
About exercise, were you talking about in the period 2022 or 2020?
Never mind. They were never mind.
2022,
Okay.
after Callan. Okay? And I asked you about running the road race after Callan. Okay? You with me?
Yes, I am.
So would you suggest, sir, that that is something that one would at least anticipate, consider, or investigate as being this manic or hypomanic that you're talking about?
No.
So, by the way, one of the questions that you were asked, sir, is that when you got involved with investigating this case, do you recall that from the DA?
So
Do you recall that from the DA?
the term investigate, if it's okay, I'll use the term evaluate.
When you got
but,
appointed or retained by the DA?
so, and your question is?
My question is,
Now, he is being very smart here. As much as he didn't investigate. So at least he is not perjuring himself he's being very clear that he evaluated what the Commonwealth gave him and nothing more. He didn't investigate to any extent of that word.
when were you retained by the district attorney, the prosecutors?
It was sometime in early 2025.
Early 2025. So like what, February, January?
I think the reach out had occurred in maybe December of 2024, and I think that the retention was early in 2025.
What's a reach out?
Well, the communication, the reaching out from the district attorney's office.
Okay. And then when you were asked that question, you indicated that you had to wait for a motion to be filed or something with the court. Do you recall answering that question?
No.
Well, if I suggest to you, sir, it was in December of 2024 that a notice of lack of criminal responsibility was filed. Does that seem to fit with the reach out?
Objection. Can we approach?
Sure.
Hey, Broomhilda and Trunchbull, learn to stage whisper. Or cover the GD mic, you morons. We need to go to sidebar. He's killing us. Charlie, Rachel, I haven't been able to watch any of this, but did anyone ever ask her if the commute played a factor in any of this? Sitting in traffic is not only frustrating, but exhausting. I don't know. And the defense hasn't done a good job of really enumerating what the various reasons that Lindsay would show increased anxiety after the birth or after her children were born and she would have to go to work. I would think that would be part of the factor. I'm going to be sitting in my car for 2 hours. I could be with my children, that kind of thing. So it isn't something I've heard really said. And I honestly don't know why the Commonwealth didn't take the plea deal that would have had Lindsay in an institution for the rest of her life. So all she said was that they needed to go to sidebar when basically what the defense is pointing out is that the Commonwealth didn't deem or decide to look at any sort of mental health basis for anything that caused this evening until 2 years after the incident, or a year after the incident, and only after the defense was putting into motion not guilty by reason of insanity or mental defect. So it does show that the Commonwealth didn't even have this on their radar. And I do believe the Commonwealth is wanting to get ahead of that or not to have that introduced to the jury. Huh.
All right, counsel.
Thank you, Judge. So, your understanding of the procedure is that a notice has to be given to the court that a person like Lindsay is raising the issue of criminal responsibility, correct?
I imagine that's the case, but I don't know the procedure here in
Don't
Massachusetts
know-
in that
you don't-
regard.
Okay, you don't know the procedure?
The procedure for making notice?
Right.
No, I do not.
If I tell you, sir, that the notice is filed in December of '24,
Well, for the First Amendment, yes and no. I do think that, and we've seen this. I go back to one of the more difficult cases because I think it will kind of line up. But the Athena Strand Tanner Horner case, and I only use his name to kind of align us where we need to be. A lot of those experts did incredible amount of third party contact. They talked to Tanner's mother. They talked to special needs teachers, educators that had been in his life. These evaluations are supposed to be intensive. You are supposed to talk to the husband, the family, all of these people, because they do not, in fact, any of these evaluators normally spend more than 8 to 10 hours with this person. A lot of their work is going to be going for like with a fine tooth comb through all of the available records and talking to people that were around and in their life and determining uh, if that person is a reliable narrator, basically reporting everything. So the fact that he didn't even talk to family members this is the first time I've ever seen this as a mental health expert brought in as a forensic sort of person to opine whether someone was mentally, competent or not. So there is about a strategy. There is, a lot of this is a chess game. Unfortunately, our legal system is like that. So it is give and take and is adversarial. But I have been flabbergasted that they brought this man as an expert. Now, do I think that that makes him terrible at his given profession? No. No, I don't, but I don't think he makes a good witness. I'm sure he does. I hope that he does a good job in his professional capacity, but I don't think he did a good job as a witness.
when was it that you had the reach out?
The first communication about the case was as I said a few minutes ago, in late 2024.
And do you recall the circumstances of that communication? DA call you, a letter, what?
No, I was contacted through a retention firm called Park Dietz and Associates.
Dietz?
Mhm.
He's a psychiatrist, isn't he?
It sounds like you know him.
I do know him. And actually, Park Dietz is a rather famous psychiatrist, is he not?
Yes.
He's testified in many cases, correct?
Yes, but
No, overruled.
I said Park Dietz and Associates. I didn't say Park Dietz himself.
Okay, well, you know Park Dietz, I imagine, right?
I do.
Yes. And you know that he's the guy that testified in the case and cited a Law and Order episode that didn't exist at the time he gave his opinion.
Sustained.
Oh, poor Park Dietz. Yeah, so if you are unaware of the deep lore, Park Dietz testified in the Andrea Yates trial that there had been a Law and Crime or Law and Order episode in which a depressed or mentally impaired mother drowned her children. Now, he said that that had aired in, I think, the weeks or months, but in a very short time period between when the tragedy with Andrea Yates happened. Now, that was not at all the case, and in fact led to a retrial of Andrea Yates. So, uh, definitely deep lore and Not the best. And not look, I joke about it, but experts it highlights the important that these experts can play and why they have to know what they're talking about and how, a person with a cloak of authority needs to be very, very honest and very real when they get something wrong. And I do believe Park Dietz did admit that he was wrong in that, wholeheartedly, but it was still an example of how badly an expert not being clear, not being truthful, consciously or unconsciously, can really affect the course of justice.
So is he still active?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is he a psychiatrist now?
I do believe that Andrea Yates is going to spend the rest of her life in a mental health care facility. And honestly, I think that's what maybe justice should look like in the Lindsay Clancy thing. I think if she's left alone for any period of time, Lindsay will and still wants to not be here anymore. So I've struggled with what justice looks like in this case. I know there are people that want her to fry, and just wait till she's in a state hospital and not being paid attention to. And I would imagine that Lindsay will probably refuse to be evaluated for release as well. Whatever you think or don't think about Lindsay, I think that she's in a hell of her own making every day. I don't think that the fact that she can move and breathe and occasionally smile takes away from the fact that she is in a prison cell already. Now, I might be giving her too much grace, but a state mental facility is not the Ritz.
Yes, he's a psychiatrist.
And on your letterhead, it says Park Dietz, Dietz, and Associates, forensic experts, right?
I can't see what you're looking at, but that's what their letterhead basically says.
That, right?
I am.
Okay. And this is your curriculum vitae, right?
Yes.
And in big letters up above, it says Park Dietz and Associates, right?
Yes.
Now, how does that work? You get a call from this retention group, Park Dietz, and then you get assigned a case?
When an attorney or a district attorney's office contacts them, they might think that it might be a case that I might want to be retained on.
Okay. Do they, to your knowledge, try to get someone that's familiar with that particular topic, or just anybody that has a random psychiatry degree?
Well, there are only certain people that they think of or consider, people that Dr. Dietz has thought of in terms of having a.
Oh, sir. Oh, sir. Why are you pulling down Dr. Dietz as an authority after he has been publicly shamed in this courtroom? I'm not saying that Dietz is terrible at all things, but what you don't do is go to an already fallible God when it's been shown to be a false idol to authority. So the fact that he's like pumping himself like, well, Mr. Dietz thinks I'm really special. Well, Mr. Dietz lied and got a whole case retried. So if he thinks you're special, we think you're special too, not in the same way.
Robust career and
You have a robust
background.
career?
I've been active as a teacher and as a clinician.
Tiny baby Jesus, help this bald man. He is being eviscerated and he does not know. He is, I feel bad when he is finally aware of how terrible this is going for him. Well, I've been teaching and playing with blue paint. It's been great. The defense is experts. Well, I only wrote the book on the professional forensic active psychiatry and, y basically taught the entire federal, psychiatry unit how to work and have my books published everywhere, and he's like, "Well, I've acted. I've been in a great community theater performance of Oklahoma. You should see it." Uh, yes, yes.
Over about 20 years, and I've been a full professor at Penn and Jefferson and Georgetown.
So that's in your curriculum vitae, correct?
The 3 professor level appointments?
All of your stuff, the things you wrote, things that you're interested in, your fellowships, professorships, all.
Yeah, and let's be real. This man is an expert in the things that he's an expert in. Okay? He's just not an expert in postpartum psychosis or women's mental health in general. So, this is really on the Commonwealth. If the Commonwealth had been doing their diligence, they wouldn't have hired an expert who has absolutely no link to this case. And by that, I mean any expertise where it could be even tangentially linked to, the fact pattern in this case. So this is on Park Dietz. This is on and Associates. This is on the Commonwealth for putting this man up because he probably is a really good witness in youth psychology and youth issues because that's mainly where his field of study has been.
That, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's introduced into evidence by the DA, right?
Yes.
So the jury's going to have it to look at, right?
Okay. I didn't know that.
Let's just take a look at it now. Is it your understanding that
Now, I need you to understand what Reddington is doing. This is what we call a long joke, okay? Or a trap, an incredibly obvious trap. This is even Admiral Akbar is like, it's a tarp. He is going to publicly show that this man has no link whatsoever to women's healthcare, women's mental health, any sort of special interest in postpartum psychiatry, psychology, psychosis, anything like that. So this is expert. This is lulling him into a sense of accomplishment and kind of arrogance. Reddington, you might not like his delivery, but he is a keen observation or observer of the human condition, and he knows that he is lulling this man into a sense of confidence by going over his accomplishments, only to pull the rug out from under him. And it's masterful. And I shouldn't get schadenfreude out of it, but I do. I do.
that when you are, and I mean you individually, not Park Dietz Associates, requested to look at and investigate into the lack of criminal responsibility of a individual charged with a crime, that you got to try to be independent?
Being independent is the
The
expectation.
answer yes, you try to be independent?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is it appropriate for you to evaluate an individual with another Park Dietz associate guy?
You're referring to Dr. Halbern?
I am referring to Dr. Halbert. He's another one of the DA's witnesses in this case, right?
Correct.
And you know Halbert, right?
I had not met him until we jointly went to do the evaluation this April.
Jointly went to do the evaluation.
Yes.
What'd you do? Both ride in the same car?
No. And I want you because this is very specific, and if you're a nerd, you remember this. But the guy who looked like Professor Farnsworth on Zoom wrote the book on forensic psychiatry, and says that you must be very to avoid confirmatory or confirmation bias, which is confirmation bias for the love of God, not confirmatory bias. Stop it. To avoid confirmation bias, the evaluator must use their own work. They must not look at anyone else's materials until they are done with their evaluation. He has violated the core rule made by the defense witness in the core teaching curricula in the field of forensic psychiatry. And if you are paying attention, if you have been paying attention, if weird things like this stick in your mind and you're a juror, then this negates every single expert that the state brings up because they all worked in a committee.
Car over to Tewksbury to talk to her?
No,
Did you have separate cars?
we did.
And then you met up beforehand and you went in to meet with Lindsay?
Yes, I
Both
think
of you
that was,
together? Both of you together?
yes,
So you work under the umbrella of Park Dietz and Associates. Heilbrunn, who's going to be testifying Monday for the government, works under the umbrella of Park Dietz and Associates, and the both of you interviewed her at the same time, is what you're telling this jury?
yes,
In your opinion, is that appropriate, sir?
yes.
Did you talk to Kirk about your opinion?
We have talked about each other's opinion. We have different opinions as far as I understand it.
Did you talk to him about his report?
No,
No?
I have not talked to him about his
Have you
report.
talked to him about testifying here today?
Quick aside, thank you, Hellfish Haven, for the jewels. And you guys, the world has a lot of negativity in it, and especially for as a person who did take the oath, but also has a lot of family members in the service. Hellfish Haven is working his butt off to make a safe place for our veterans, for our service members coming back, struggling with things. He's using his own story to make a safe place for people who may not have always felt like it. And especially with the Lindsay Clancy case, um, we've noticed a blind spot for women, but there are so many blind spots out there. And just because there's a blind spot for women doesn't mean that we, don't notice and stand up for our blind spots for our vets and for, everyone who is getting ignored. This didn't have to be an us versus them. It can be, hey, the system's broken. Let's help everyone. So give him a look out if you know someone who maybe could use a resource without judgment. Hand it out like wildfire. Sprinkle it out there because he's doing good work, and not everyone is able to take their story and try to help others. And it's pretty cool to be a part of that and to witness that. So it's pretty awesome. I'd give him a check out.
Not in terms of content.
What does
No.
that mean?
The other day he called me and said, what day are you going up to Boston?
Ah.
Okay.
So the lip smack is his tell. It becomes very pronounced when he is looking for a word whisker or trying to ascertain where Reddington is going. He doesn't. He has figured out that this is a trap of some sort, but doesn't know where it's going. And that seems to be something that comes up more when he's anxious. And I bet Reddington has already clocked that. He knows he's gotten him anxious.
And
Shipping up to Boston. Did you tell him?
no, I wasn't sure what day I was going up to Boston.
Okay. Did you review his report?
I have reviewed his report.
All right. And has he reviewed your report?
I don't know. I assume so, but I don't know.
Now, looking at your CV, you indicate that you're educated at Cornell, you got your medical degree, you had some fellowships. Do you have any particular interest in your practice, sir?
Yes,
And you have licensure in Delaware, right?
yes,
Pennsylvania,
yes.
District of Columbia?
Not at the moment.
Says 2005 to the present, but not anymore.
Well, I'm not sure what date that CV is, but
Park Dietz, you should be furious. The fact that this man is doing such a bad job, it's definitely not the best showing for the Dietz and Associates.
Had my DC license to
Okay.
not be renewed.
Maryland,
Same, I let it not be renewed.
New York,
I actually renewed that recently.
Massachusetts,
No, I haven't had that since I left here.
South Carolina,
I haven't renewed that in many years.
Connecticut,
Same,
Virginia.
same.
So what does that mean that you have licensure? Does that mean you can be a psychiatrist in these states as long as it's active, or what does that mean?
Licensure means that one can act as a physician when your licensure is in.
I am so sorry, Lori, and I'm sorry for your loss. Xavier Chapman, I hope you find peace and rest. And I hope that your family left behind finds peace and rest and comfort too, because they have a long road too. Grief Club is never a club that you ever want to join. It sucks all the sack. And just be kind to people. Just be kind and reach out. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones that we really need to. Gail, so it has been elicited out from testimony that Lindsay is still very controlled, monitored, but still deeply medicated to a normal kind of layperson's level or understanding of it, and that she is still very self-delete heavy. So she is one-on-one 24/7. They do not leave her alone. There is a worry, a genuine fear that if given any time alone, she would finish what she started. To be as delicate as I possibly can. So she is incredibly medicated and being monitored. The two young ladies that kind of change in the front row is those are nurses given over from the facility where she's being held. So she is being monitored 24/7.
Fact, yes.
Okay. And as far as professional and scientific societies, you belong to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, right?
Yes.
You belong to the American Academy of Juvenile and Family Court Judges, is that correct?
I don't belong to that group at the moment.
Well, did you? Is that on your resume?
Yes, there was a moment when I was the representative from the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry and the American Psychiatric Association and also the American Academy of Psychiatry and Law, of all three, to the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. So at that point, I was a member of the National Council.
So I asked you about your interests or focus as a doctor. Would you agree, sir, that one of the things you put down is that you were involved in ad hoc reviewerships in the Journal of American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, right?
It does say that, yes.
And then American Journal of Addictions?
Yes.
I don't like the way he answered it. It does say that. Because given the inaccuracies that we've already pulled out of your CV, that isn't confirmatory enough. But I think Reddington has bigger fish to fry.
Pediatric Quality and Safety?
Yes.
That's dealing with little kids, right? Pediatrics?
Well, at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, we see patients up to 24.
Okay.
At Nemours, I believe up to 21.
So you also express interest in child psychiatry.
Well, my bigger question is, why did Park Dietz attach his name to him? If you don't think that Park Dietz is not losing his ish, especially when Reddington called out the Andrea Yates kerfuffle, if you don't think that this man hasn't been removed from any further relationship from Park Dietz and Associates, a forensic expertologist, You 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 this is a mortal blow to Park Dietz and Associates. This is not looking good. Not only did they put a wrong expert up there, but his CV is shown to be inaccurate and self-aggrandizing. This is not a good look at all. And if you don't think that Park Dietz is now pissed off and wanting to take his name off of his representation of this, or at least this man, this is going to have far-reaching professional consequences for this particular witness, and this is down to Park Dietz putting the wrong expert in for this. Now, maybe it was the fact that they didn't have an expert that would have filled in or been comparable or good for them, and instead of saying that, they just picked any psychiatrist, which seems like what happened. Uh, but this is more on Park Dietz and Associates and the Commonwealth, and not particularly this witness. So I do feel bad for the professional criticism he is going to get. That is, look, he's a terrible witness. That's earned. But the inevitable questions about his professional, abilities in his actual chosen field, I feel sorry when people are going to question that because of this display.
This comes under academic responsibilities, child psychiatry, right?
Yes.
You have been involved in the doctoring course for first-year medical students, right?
Yes.
Supervision of adult psychiatry residents, right?
Yes.
Clinical evaluation, Department of Psychiatry, dealing with children and adolescents, right?
I'm not sure that last one that you read, but
Number 8 on
no, but what does it say in its entirety?
ongoing clinical education of PGY3 residents, Department of Psychiatry, Georgetown University Hospital, Institute for Children and Adolescents.
Do you mean Regional Institute for Children and Adolescents?
Resume, I don't know what it means.
I'm just wanting to make sure I'm responding to your question.
Do you have it with you? I mean, you can look
The
at it.
Regional Institute for Children and Adolescents was a residential center in outside the Beltway, where I served for 3 years.
Okay, the focus nevertheless is on children and adolescents, right?
Not at that time. What you mean when I was at Georgetown?
I'm just looking at your resume.
Okay.
How about lecture of patient safety and quality?
Could he have turned down the job if he knew he was unqualified? I don't know. I don't know what the internal kind of processes are in Park Dietz and Associates, because it seems like they broke the cardinal rule in, foundational thought of forensic evaluation, which is to do your own work so that you're not contaminated by someone else's thoughts. So I don't know if that's a, standard operating procedure that is wrong in Park Dietz and Associates, or if he was just unaware how crappy his evaluations were in comparison to other experts. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a him problem or an entire foundational problem of kind of the expert industrial complex. True. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but take the job you aren't qualified for, do a half-assed job, all while a woman's life is on the line. True. I am irritated by him, but I don't want him. The problem is that the internet doesn't seem to have a limiting factor. So they will go from having legitimate criticisms of his performance and professions to doxing his entire family, which I know none of you would do. Yeah, that was great. I'm just reading what you wrote down, sir. Like, I don't know. You wrote this down, not me. I agree, but I also think that the internet doesn't have a limiting factor. So people would, and there are crazies. There are crazies out there. We see them. They interact on the internet all the time.
The improvement in child and adolescent mental health. That something that you were involved with as a lecturer, sir?
Yes, about
Okay.
patient safety and quality, yes.
Answer is yes.
Yes.
Just make it quick. You were a lecturer on a morass returns adolescent cannabis, doubles lettuce, and other hallucinogen use, dealing with what, pediatrics, kids?
Yes.
Okay. You also did, under lectures by invitation, that you've been involved with lecturing on wither psychosis in adolescents, right?
That was the title of a paper I gave. Yes.
So the answer is yes, right?
The answer is I gave that paper. Yes.
Okay. Adolescents accused of
Wrote that paper or gave that paper? Did you lecture on the paper? His word choice is so weird to me because it's very precise. So he presented the paper, he didn't write it?
murder or manslaughter, right?
Yes.
Okay. With the psychosis, adolescent killers, a couple of years later, again, maybe an update, right?
Right.
Divorce for the clinician, right?
Right.
Divorce legal process and medical, social, and psychiatric sequelae, right?
Right.
Killer adolescents, drug school and the courts, right?
Right.
Jumping ahead, 2014, for example, you had the morass returns, adolescent cannabis and other hallucinogens, right?
I imagine, yes. I don't know exactly which one you're looking at, but that's the title of a lecture that I was giving.
Childhood development and psychopathology, right? Is an interest, right?
It is an interest, yes.
Childhood development, again, in psychopathology, lecture to the United States Department of Justice, right?
Yes.
Lecturing to the United States Department of Justice, Department of Immigration, right?
Yes.
Cognitive bias think tank is another one of the lectures that you gave. Is that correct?
Well, it was a committee or a task force that I co-led about the prospect of diagnostic error when people have cognitive biases.
And what's a cognitive bias? Just curious.
So when you think about diagnoses, there's always a possibility that an individual is sort of guided to one diagnosis or another based on various forms of preconceptions or biases. So a major part of this concept of patient safety is to prevent misdiagnosis. And there are a lot of techniques that are used in medicine and in this case in pediatric hospitals and also in psychiatry to try to make sure that the users or the diagnosticians' biases don't creep into making the wrong diagnosis.
Research publications, sir, dealing with neuropsychiatric systemic lupus, erythematosus, age, and the neurodevelopment model. That's one of your research publications, right?
Yes.
Dealing with psychiatric classification from the ancients to DSM-4, psychiatric clinics of North America, right?
Yes.
Alcohol abuse is another research that you did.
I've written or edited several textbooks on substance use.
I too can use autocorrect. I'm just kidding. I know editing doesn't have auto or isn't autocorrect and spell check, but love how he's like, I didn't well, I mean, I edited. I highlighted and autocorrected the spelling.
Right.
Disorders? Yes.
Okay. So in addition to child and adolescent aspects of psychiatry, you're also interested in focusing in on alcohol abuse, substance-related disorders, alcohol abuse disorders, addictive disorders, treatment of addictive disorders, right?
Those are some of the areas of interest, yes.
Novel risk factors for central line associated bloodstream infections in critically ill children, right?
Yes.
And it goes on and on with a lot of your focuses on children, minors, probate court, correct?
I don't know about probate court, but
Well, you've had occasion to do evaluations for probate court, haven't you?
you have to remind me, there was
Okay,
a
never mind
period when
probate
I
court.
was the physician leader of the state of Maryland's Office of Forensic Services.
Right.
So
That's what you said on direct, so that's why I'm asking it. But how about the new tools in the toolbox? Proactive prevention of CLABS, 1 in patients with behavioral health.
Okay, except for Alessi, who I didn't know was nearly 60. That man and his binder, oh my God, him and Kevin Reddington should just do like the sexy lawyers of the of the west, or no, of the East Coast, and it's just them with their binders and magnifying glass just all over Boston. I would buy Listen, we would buy the hell out of this. Reddington, Alessi, I don't know what you're doing of an hour or so, but we just need a couple candid pictures with you with your binder and magnifying glass, and we have think about it, you guys. Can you think about a bunch of wives asking their husband for a sexy calendar, and they go to buy the sexy calendar, and it's Yannetti, Jackson, Reddington, Alessi. and and they're all just carrying office supplies, and the wives are just like, "Oh my god, do you have a binder, honey?" Sorry. I'm just saying I would buy that calendar, and the money can go to wherever. Cuz yes.
And concerns, what does that mean?
Well, CLABSI, central line associated bloodstream infections, are something that is a major concern of all hospitals around the country, and preventing them from happening is not only the work of cleaning the apparatus that touches patients, but also we learned that when patients have psychiatric problems, they actually are at a greater risk of developing a central line associated bloodstream infection, which is a significant complication of being in the hospital. So I started that work when I was at Georgetown, when I was an adult, mainly focused on adults, and carried it on when I was at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and at Nemours in terms of the pediatric risks for CLABSI.
Okay. About clinical manual of adolescent substance abuse disorder. That's another one of your chapters, right? Book.
I don't think I wrote a book about adolescent substance use.
Number 29, MAC AH, Clinical Manual of Adolescent Substance Abuse Treatment, Journal of Psychiatric Practice.
Yeah, that was a chapter, not a book. But yes.
Okay, but nevertheless, your focus and your interest is on adolescents that like to smoke weed and drink, right?
No.
Okay. Would you agree, sir, that you were interested in the American Psychiatric Press textbook you wrote for substance abuse treatment, right?
Yes.
All right. And think like a psychiatrist, but always a doctor, be a doctor, web drugstore, perils, drugs, alcohol, bloodstream infections in children's hospital, focusing on that, right? Where in here does it say that you ever came within breathing distance of a pregnant woman and your practice and your interest in your writings?
So I remember being at the Brigham as a resident and
How long ago was
going
that?
to.
Jesus. It was asked about your CV, not your life stories.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, give us a year.
Well, you asked me when.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
starting.
when. When?
That was the memory I have for that particular situation was 2001.
2001, so 25 years ago.
Right. And
What did
so
you do?
since then, I went to the Medical University of South Carolina, and then I went to Georgetown, and all that period up until 2015, I was doing general psychiatry work with areas of focus in peds or in addictions, but also with forensics as an area. I see myself as somebody who's a generalist who happens to have a couple.
I have so many things I want to say and so many things that would nuke my channel. And the biggest thing is, bless your heart. In the fullest extent of what that can mean in Appalachia. Bless your heart, sweetheart. I'm a generalist. That's like me saying I'm not an expertologist. The problem with that being that I'm not getting paid to be an expertologist. See, it's okay for me to have, the bow of discontent made out of, resin candy and the hey y'all clearance earrings that were at Hobby Lobby. Because y'all aren't paying me to be an expert in postpartum psychiatry. Y'all are paying me to be an expert in shenanigans, or just watching me. I mean, which is paying me because that's how YouTube works. But I I j I need to go I just I what am I watching here? Commonwealth. How can he say this with such arrogance? And good morning, good morning. Basically, what he's saying is that he doesn't have to have any clinical focus or any identifiable focus in his psychiatric curricula vitae because he's a generalist. He's seen a pregnant woman once in his life. Therefore, by the powers of psychiatry, he can be considered an expert of sorts in psychiatry, and postpartum depression falls under that. So he's taking the very, very technical overview or how you would understand psychiatry to, be an umbrella that covers postpartum depression. And even though his focus has been over here with adolescence and addiction, because he has that overall umbrella of psychiatry, he feels like he's generally enough of an expert to give his opinion. Now, no.
So since then, I went to the Medical University of South Carolina, and then I went to Georgetown, and all that period up until 2015, I was doing general psychiatry work with areas of focus in peds or in addictions, but also with forensics as an area. I see myself as somebody who's generalist who happens to have a couple of areas of focus. In 2015, I did move from that generalist model to, when I left Georgetown, I moved to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania. And in those years, since then, I've been working in pediatric hospitals.
Reddington is the physical embodiment of every person who has checked out of a conversation because the question that they asked is not being answered. These two are engaging in parallel conversation, and it's very kind of interesting because one is having a very straightforward, very just blunt, kind of rude conversation, like, what are your qualifications? And the other one is saying, look, is having a completely different conversation where, look, it's okay. I don't have to have a specialty. I am the science. It's very interesting to watch in real time, and Reddington is the human embodiment of the allergy of bullshit, embodied for us.
Where at CHOP, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, the age is up to 24, and at Nemours, it's up to 21. So that is the overall area of adult and child psychiatry that I've been working in. Throughout the years at Georgetown,
Okay,
I would like to answer because I have more to tell you.
Let him finish the answer. Go ahead.
So at Georgetown, certainly that was all adult. And
Reddington is the every older sibling when look, your younger brother did it. We all know he did it, but your mom is letting him give himself, in trouble. And you're like, if I could just tell you what happens, we won't be sitting here for 5 minutes as he comes up with a story.
Georgetown has its own labor and delivery unit. And so that was plenty of engagement with women who were pregnant or who had just given birth.
Okay, sir, let me make the wild assumption that you're not very comfortable with the female sex because you basically just said, like, I worked in a hospital with maternity unit. That's as close to women and babies as I get. Look, like, I know we had one. I seen them go in. I see them come out with babies, but I don't know what happened. I mean, I wasn't called there. It's just like, but the way he said it was like, ew, girls. Like, ew, it had a maternity wing, but, like, I didn't go there unless I was paged. Ick.
And then at both Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and at Nemours, there are these special units that have been designed for the last several years of high-risk pregnancy units. So actually at CHOP, one of my first roles there was to develop the psychiatry services coverage of the high-risk maternity unit there called the Special Delivery Unit. And I was the co-leader and then the leader of the consultation service at CHOP. And so I led the group of adult and child psychiatrists to tend to the psychiatric needs of that unit. Recently at Nemours, the same unit was built. And so, yes, in these pediatric hospitals, there actually are units of women who are about to have birth, who have just had birth.
Well, I'm sure in these pediatric hospitals, there are women about to have birth and have had birth. And I'm sure that there are competent doctors that treat them, correct?
That was a mortal wound. Sir, by using the word competent there, he is highlighting that you are not.
I agree with you.
How about you? How many women with postpartum psychosis have you treated?
Roughly 10 would be my estimate.
Over what period of time?
Over the period since 2001.
And when you would treat these women, would you be involved in, for example, testing them for their mental health?
Well, usually the teaching has been that what was called postpartum psychosis is actually a form of bipolar disorder. So what is important is to say, let's do a full evaluation of the individual's symptoms and signs, and then treat them and engage in treatment. And usually that's going to be a form of bipolar disorder treatment. That's the teaching. That is the general perspective.
So with your wealth of knowledge on...
No. Now, I am by no means an expert, but just in the cursory research that I've done, postpartum does have some characteristics and features of bipolar disorder in how it presents, but it is multifactorial. It does involve, not only hormones, but there are neurotransmitters. There are many different things, and we don't know all about it. The truth is it's just in its infancy of being studied. It wasn't until I think the early 90s that, the medical community realized that no real independent studies of how women's bodies react to drugs. And there's always been there are logistical, boundaries. No one wants to test a drug that could hurt a woman's future fertility, even if they're, ambivalent about having children, or a potential fetus. So I get where their limitations are, but this is not something that's at all settled as science. They are just now getting into the infancy of researching it and realizing that it does seem to present more like bipolar. And I say this as a layperson that has only done cursory internet investigation.
Women that are pregnant and suffering from postpartum psychosis, do you know whether or not Lindsay was ever diagnosed with postpartum depression?
I believe that the various notes from the clinicians over the year of 2022 to 2023 utilize the term unspecified mood disorder.
Right. How about postpartum depression?
I don't think that appellation was used.
Okay. So was she ever administered EPDS?
You mean the Edinburgh?
Yeah. Was she ever administered that?
I don't know if she was or wasn't. I don't remember.
Isn't that...
So the problem is that the Edinburgh, I'm going to get kicked out of Scotland. That particular test was formulated to clearly and distinctly for clinicians give a sort of easy tool to diagnose whether postpartum should be thought about instead of generalized anxiety disorder. Again, all of Lindsay's generalized anxiety disorder should probably have been diagnosed as postpartum depression. Because with that understanding, with that particular label, is an understanding that you can slip into psychosis very easy. There is a distinct difference between what they are talking about in Lindsay and the baby blues. So the label of postpartum depression, had Lindsay been given it, in my personal opinion, would have cued in at least the clinicians who were willing to understand and use that term correctly, that this is a very dangerous situation. You can easily slip from baby blues to depression to absolute psychosis, and it's something that can happen quickly and without a lot of warning. Oh, Edinburgh? I thought it was bra. Look, I'll go to actual Scotland one day when I go back to the DMV and get my real ID. Not today.
Something you're in here testifying about this case. Wouldn't that be important to know that she was almost off the chart on the Edinburgh scale for postnatal depression?
Well, I have said that she had depression.
Well, postnatal depression for a woman who's pregnant or had a baby recently is a heck of a lot different than some guy who's just depressed about his job, right?
I don't understand your question.
Well, do you know?
I think we've identified the problem. Are many clinicians and look, I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm about the farthest from a card-carrying feminist that you can say, but is there a general disinclination among clinicians to even think that postpartum depression is real? Are we treating postpartum depression as generalized anxiety disorder and allowing women to fall through the cracks because we're treating it like a guy who's depressed, which is serious, okay? Anyone whose brain is working against them deserves and requires help, no matter what gender or reality they're living in, okay? That's not this conversation, so let's keep it to this conversation. But is the general disinclination because none of the clinicians wanted to write down postpartum depression? Is there an issue with insurance? Does insurance not believe that postpartum is a thing? Why are these clinicians afraid to diagnose women within the postpartum period, or at least Lindsay, with postpartum depression? I don't get it. I am legitimately asking a question because I don't get it. And I'm thinking I'm seeing part of the problem here, but if this is just normal and I'm simply understanding it wrong, I don't know.
What her readings were on the Edinburgh test?
Not to my memory at the moment, no.
Why not? You read the medical records, didn't you?
I mean, if you would like to show me, I'd be
I don't
happy
want to show you
review it.
anything. I'm asking you as a testifying witness for this jury, did you look at her medical records?
I did.
And the medical records pertain to her being a person that just had a baby, right?
I'm not sure that which records you're talking about, but can I finish? Can I finish?
No, you cannot. You just failed to understand as a psychiatrist, as a forensic psychiatrist, that there might be a unique and quantifiable difference between generalized depression and its manifestation in a 40-year-old man and postpartum depression that has been uniquely quantified everywhere except America, at least by a paragraph in the DSM-5. I take back what I said about you hoping that you were a good clinician somewhere else. I mean, I still hope you're a good clinician somewhere else, but if you end up having to work at my local Dairy Queen, I think that might be an upgrade for humanity. Allegedly in Minecraft, I said what I said. I think I would trust you with a blizzard before I'm going to trust you with my mental health.
I'm not going to finish. 2022, obviously, because we already talked about the summer, she was fine. When did she see Tufts?
She started to see Dr. Tufts in 2022.
When?
I believe it was, she went to Dr. Tufts in September, and it was in October that she started taking the medication that Dr. Tufts had prescribed.
Okay, and that was for what?
You mean which medication or what was the purpose?
Medication,
Sertraline,
and otherwise known as,
Zoloft.
and she took it after a while, is that correct? Is that what you said?
A few weeks, yes.
And the reason she didn't take it was,
Idiots like him don't realize that women have their own toppings at home. What a sad, sad world you must live in to not realize that your enemy is smarter, creative, and has sprinkles at home. Yeah, he might be. But the way he is reacting with arrogance instead of humility shows me that this is how he at least behaves in a professional capacity. When he feels he's smarter than someone, this is the behavior and posture he adopts. So maybe he doesn't do that with children and adolescents. But if I were an adolescent, stuck seeing him and he presented like he's presenting now, I would in no way open up to him, and I would probably be worse off as a patient after him. That's only my experience in the way he is presenting now. Hopefully, he is a really good clinician with kids and adolescents because they need really good clinicians.
what?
Time as my evaluation.
Hold on for a
Hold on a
second.
second. Hold on a second, Doc. Sorry. All right, let's go ahead. You want him to re-ask that question?
I'm okay.
Okay.
So over time, Ms. Clancy has avoided taking medications,
She's what?
avoided taking medications.
Says who?
The description she gave me.
She told you that?
My awareness from my evaluation is that she resists taking medications, and
Now, I want you to notice this. Now, this works better in a smaller setting, but notice the dominance. He's not even giving full attention. He is entertained by this. Reddington's body language is that of utter dismissal, but like a lion, he's enjoying this. This man is not saving himself. This man is proselytizing to an audience of himself. Reddington is a predator who is waiting and knows that he's stepping into a trap of his own making.
for example,
No. Tell me what you mean by she resists taking medications.
there are individuals in this world who do not want to take medications, and I think she described that she is one of them.
You know, she saw Dr. Tufts because she apparently was anxious, right?
Yes.
Prior to that, other than having anxiety about public speaking as a nurse in nursing school, and after she had one of her children, she didn't have any psychiatric history of medications, right?
She had not taken medications, but she had had a lifelong degree of anxiety. It hadn't been at the level of disorder, but she had had
Lifelong.
yes.
Okay, how about grammar school, high school, college? Did she have difficulty that she was anxious?
So what I was saying is that anxiety can drive people, but she had a lot.
How do you know this? How do you know that she had a lifelong resistance to medication? Again, you're taking her narration as reliable. Did you talk to family members? Were they always like, Lindsay would never take her vitamins. She was such a pain. We had to wrap it up like when we had to give her, we had to like hide it like a dog in cheese or give her a big spoon of peanut butter and make her take a Tylenol that way. You don't know because you didn't ask any of the ancillary questions. You didn't have those conversations with the people in her life. So whatever you and the ceiling cat that you keep looking up to with your one good eye to find the answers that you are speaking, no. Again, you cannot both use Lindsay as a reliable narrator, then say that she lies and manipulates and that you used her for truth. Do you see how that can be wrong? Do you see how that could be confirmation bias? You frippin' flapjack moron. You may have gone to school for years and years, but you don't understand how to use your mind. And that's sad. And I'd like to study it. I'll see you at 3. My couch is always open. And I enjoy making jokes, so see you there, sweetie.
A lot of anxiety, and she was hardworking. and the anxiety helped her to be hardworking. But when it comes to medications,
Okay, hold on. Mr. Reddington, you got, go ahead, Doctor, finish the question.
but when it comes to medications, she described that she didn't want to take medications. And an example was the time that after the birth of her second child, that sertraline had been prescribed, but she chose to get through her anxiety and depression by exercising. And that is something that people do. But it also highlights that in this case, she didn't want to be taking medications. And I think that we also understand that in the fall of 2022.
All right. At this point, I'm going to stop. Next question.
My question was, you said that she had a lifelong resistance to taking medication. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Then I asked you, grammar school, high school, college, did she have any records, any witnesses, any documents that she had a resistance to taking medication?
Only her description to me.
She didn't tell you that she was resistant to medication in grammar school and high school and college? What are you, making this up?
Objection.
Yeah, sustain. Next question.
She didn't tell you that.
I understand her to have told me that generally she did not want to be taking medications. She didn't necessarily specify.
Yes, that is what Reddington is getting to. You utter magnificently large moron. Let me explain to you. You said, okay? You said Lindsay had a lifelong aversion to taking and being compliant with medications. Those are what you said with authority. And then when asked, so back in grammar school, back in middle school, back in college and in nursing, she resisted medication. Now you said, well, it was my understanding based on the voices and ceiling cats and like the things that I remember of the report that I sort of wrote. Park Deeds. I know you don't know me for madam. Hello, my name is Mo. It's on the little Chiron. I would not hire this man again. Whether or not you have a credible, functional cottage industry of pumping out experts after this, I mean, may the odds be ever in your favor, sweeties. But we have a saying here in Appalachia, and it's called "bless your heart." And I don't know if you want a lot of "bless your heart" in your cottage industry of experts.
Grammar school, but that is her basic.
College.
Yes, I think that her description was as a adolescent and as a young adult, she was not interested in taking medications.
You really have that written down somewhere?
I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I believe that that's what I understand it to
You
be.
believe that's what it is? You don't know whether you have it written down somewhere, right?
Can I refer to my
Read the
report?
whole report. I don't care. Because it's not there.
Oh God, the court reporter's body is rejected. The court reporter tried to take a look. Reddington, you better buy the court reporter some muffins. She tried to take a drink when you made a funny, and you near killed her. Damn it, Reddington, you damn near did a double homicide in the courtroom. You took out this witness's professional career, and you almost took out the court reporter by making a funny. And she is rejecting the stupid. This is the most violent and, spasmodic rejection of stupid I've seen in a while. But I suffer too, so I understand.
Well, on page 8, what I had written was, Ms. Clancy's reluctance to take medication generally was accompanied by her concern for medications entering her breast milk. So the general...
Breast milk, she's pregnant. Come on. That's the only time that she indicates that she did not want to take, except for benzos, medication because she was breastfeeding, right?
I don't agree.
Well, you also don't agree that there's any difference between postpartum depression and a 40-year-old man who is depressed, which even the DSM in its startling lack of clarity on postpartum depression does indicate by labeling it something different that it is in fact different.
I'm happy to be proven wrong, but my
That's it. That's it. Will someone please find me the pink unicorn so I can shuffle myself off to a reality where this man makes sense? Commonwealth, take me to your world. A whole new world. A brand new landscape of bullshit. No one to tell me no or logic ho. We're going, it's YOLO. The Commonwealth, the musical, uh, presented later by me and Andrew Lloyd Webber. If he would ever get back at me for making back to me after I make fun of, I believe he meant to say breastfeeding. But there are women who out of deeply held care for their children will be very concerned about certain medications. I know I was, and, with consultation with Mr. Mo and looking up my own research, I did what was right for my family. I'm not going to sit here. Look, here's the other thing I need. If you're a mom, if you're a father, if you're gonna be a mom soon, if anything has taught me anything, this case is that new parents need support, but support and care is gonna look different. Talk to your loved ones. Learn and listen to the language their support comes from. Learn and listen and ask what their cries for help look like. Let's not wait for another one of these cases. Let's check in on one another. And here's the other thing, if you're a new mom, it's rough. Be very protective of your little family, and if things work for you, protect that. It doesn't have to look right to any one of us. Is your child happy, healthy, fed, and are you okay? Then so you don't have organic food, so you don't breastfeed, so you formula feed. At the end of the day, is your baby loved? Do you go back to work? Do you not go back to work? At the end of the day, do you love your baby? Let's stop dividing motherhood and new parenthood into this is right, this is wrong. We'll call out the obvious wrong, but let's let families work the way they're supposed to do, which is for them. They're their own ecosystems. So be kind to yourself if you're a new mom. Yes, there are days that it's a minute to a minute. But please reach out if you're afraid, if you're scared. I put myself in timeout. I have 6 kids. My kids know I put myself in timeout. I let them know that mommy sometimes has a hard time with all the mad she feels. And I haven't always been the best at that. But it's so much better to take a break. Go cry on the front porch. There are so many nights as a new mom, I cry on the front porch. And I'm not judging Lindsay. This is a whole separate issue. But there are moms out there that get it. And they do get it. So please reach out and talk to them. We're not gonna and old veteran moms out there, let's be there. Let's be a source of wisdom and support. I mean, there is nothing harder than waiting your entire life and wanting to be a mom, and then because of the way hormones work and your brain works and lack of sleep, feeling like you are sucking out loud at the only thing you've ever wanted to do with your entire life, the only important legacy you will leave behind. Because let's be real, we moms, for the most part, we know just how important the job we signed up for. We're not selfish. We're not, wanting, we're overwhelmed. And so maybe our language of of asking for help is bitching and complaining or crying or doing that. And I'm lucky enough after many years that Mr. Mo have and I have learned to first of all, that our language of asking for help is gonna change. What helped and what looked like help with all the kids being little and me having a healthy body is gonna look completely different to the help he offers me now, and I have to be willing to verbalize that need and express it to him in a way that he understands. So, if anything good can come out of this trial, let's remember that sometimes and I know for me, I'm really bad at this. Um, my cries for help can be incredibly subtle, incredibly, incredibly easy to miss. Like, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. For someone who doesn't always ask for help, who has a really hard time asking for help, just that simple statement of "I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted, I'm stressed," can be the equivalent of me running naked through the town square. And I had to really be very clear with Mr. Mo that that's how it felt to me because to him and by no means is Mr. Mo oblivious or an unengaged husband, but it sounds like normal he looked at the situation and thought, "Yeah, you're at home with 3 small kids, of course you're overwhelmed, yeah." And he tried to help the way, that he could, but he didn't realize that what I was trying to communicate was I was white knuckling it through life. I thought I was being very clear, and there that's why I say it's a give and take thing. The broken system doesn't mean that doctors are all a-holes and patients are all right. No, but there has been a general level of miscommunication and broken promises on both sides. And yeah, look, he's at church right now. I'm getting to do my own church. And thank you, Denise, and, thank you to whoever said, to put this into a short. I have this trial has been incredibly hard for me. I almost didn't take it up because I I was fully expecting to have no chill for Lindsay. I was fully expecting to be on the Bow sisters, boat, but then I started doing my own research and looking at the civil lawsuit and realizing that at the bottom of this is a human tragedy, but there could be a lesson here to learn as far as why did the entire medical industrial establishment need a actual, like, Rube Goldbergian plan before they took any of her ideations as serious? What was this clinical seeming rejection to label her anxieties as postpartum? Why was everything put as generalized? Is that a function of insurance billing? Is it a generalized because, the indica and diagnostic stuff in the current DSM is only merely a paragraph or a page? Is that a function of why clinicians are reluctant to use it? I think all of these are valid questions, and for real empaths, I don't mean the millennials on TikTok or I feel things and I'm spiritual. I'm also a Sagittarius. But for real empaths, this has been an incredibly heartbreaking case because for a moment in week 2, I thought we were at a place where, regardless of color or creed or political affiliation, I thought we were all at a point where we were so flabbergasted by the fact that Lindsay was turned away multiple times for not having an actual plan that we could all, again, regardless of our thought processes or how we wanted to fix it, could look and say, broken system, broken. But instead, it's turned into what the internet always turns into, a chaotic mess of, well, insanity on display for the public. But And that's been heartbreaking because I thought we were finally at a place, at a moment with the vocabulary and the willingness to maybe all agree and point at something broken and fix it. Not perfect it. Nothing is ever going to be perfect on this world, but a better understanding on all sides of how to make this work for everyone involved. But the internet got involved in it, digressed. So here's my hope and prayer for you. See that mom struggling with that crazy toddler in Walmart? Don't judge her. See a mom struggling, know a mom? Reach out and be aware that screams for help and cries for help might sound like I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed, I'm tired, I just don't feel like I used to. I I just don't feel the way I want to feel. Have an open heart, and sometimes listening is all you need to do. We just want to hear heard. We just want someone to notice our cries, and no matter how subtle they are. And the internet isn't real life, so let's check in on the people we love and care about. And hopefully, if enough people check in on enough people, we can't fix a broken system, but we can make sure all our circles connect. So let's get back to some K-Shred, because that's about as much Oprah as I can do.
My understanding is that she described that she generally did not want to take medication,
All right.
benzodiazepines included.
Let's not guess, all right? Let's look at Dr. Mack's report, okay? Medication history. During the period before January 24, 23, she was taking several medications, and that would be Tufts and Gelada and all the rest of them, right?
Okay.
Is that right?
I didn't exactly hear your question.
Court reporter just casually opening a White Claw. It's Friday in the Cape. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's not a White Claw. If that's okay, I know for me, people invading my home is cause for more anxiety. So if that works for people, I never claimed to be Oprah. I said I can only channel her for short times, and I'd much rather channel Cher, because she had an into Bob Mackie. I am sure it's not a White Claw, but just her casually opening that after she basically nearly hacked out a lung. Volstorm, the court reporter, is our spirit animal right now. I almost want to crack open an adult beverage. I know. Kevin Reddington, if you ever decide to not be a lawyer and fight for justice, would you just do fireside chats where you insult people? Like seriously, I would pay $50 for a Kevin Reddington, roast of Mo. Oh, so this is your CV, Mo? You say you have 6 kids? I mean, but that's obviously he's out fighting for justice, so that's more important. But if he ever wants to change careers, I would watch the hell out of Kevin Reddington fireside chats. Like I would every day, all day, and then reenact enactments of him shredding people, like on a loop.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
You said in your report, defendant was taking several medications that had been prescribed for her, right?
In the fall and December of 2022, yes.
So it's real easy. It's Tufts and Gelada that were prescribing these meds, right?
They were among the prescribers, yes.
All right. And her reluctance to take medication was accompanied by her concern for medications entering her what?
I believe it says breast milk.
Breast milk. Okay. So other than her concerns as a mother about her breast milk and having these drugs get into an infant's body, when else did she tell you that she was resistant, as you just told this jury, to taking medication? Like she's somebody who doesn't want to take the medication, doesn't care to take the medication. Where is it?
Overall.
Well, I didn't say that she didn't care.
Okay, how about if she was resistant?
My recollection, and I'm happy to, if you would like me to spend time finding it.
Prove you're
I'd be
wrong,
happy
I
to.
know.
What?
prove you wrong. It's not in your report, though, is it?
Okay.
Oh, this is like when, again, it's like if you guys are new to the channel, you haven't heard the infamous Robbler story. But let me tell you what a Robbler. Now, if you're unaware of what a Robbler is, it is a Fig Newton of the youngest, most feral's imagination. It is what happens when a robber and a burglar have a baby, I guess. But a Robbler, according to my youngest, most feral, broke into our house, stole nothing, but picked up a Sharpie and wrote my youngest, most feral's name on the wall, as you do, as a Robbler, and then stealthily went away from the house. Now, walking him through all of this, so he didn't steal any money. No, no, he was only coming in to besmirch my name. He didn't steal anything. He didn't break in. He was a the fact that he's doing what I have to do with my youngest, most feral, who talks about Robblers, is the point of how ridiculous this is. Also, beware of Robblers who want to draw Sharpie people's names on your wall and steal nothing. They are apparently rampant in my house. You have no proof it was youngest. Were you there, ma'am? No, I wasn't. So I have no proof that it was, in fact, with my own eyeballs, youngest, most feral. It could have been a Robbler.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Now, you had mentioned, sir, I believe, that the DSM is something that you all use in your diagnoses of people, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that you are here to testify about would be postpartum issues, postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression, right?
Are you referring to postpartum psychosis, the disorder, the proposed disorder, or as a symptom?
Well, when you come in here as an expert,
Do you mean proposed disorder? Like we are still arguing the validity of postpartum psychosis? Or Hellfish, I'm planning to fully give into my creative side after this trial. We are going to work on merch and stuff. This trial has been draining, and I don't say that in a bad way. These are hard trials, and they're supposed to be. At the bottom of this, however we want to dress it up, and I try to use dark humor and, kind of funny quips. This is still a tragedy. At the end of the day, 3 little children are never, ever gonna be on this earth again. And I wish that the Commonwealth and their experts had gone into it with that amount of care, because honestly, I wouldn't care as much, I wouldn't be so offended if they had gone into this with attention to detail. They could have gone full bore for Lindsay, but they have done such a shambolic job at just even putting on a competent trial. These were their experts. These were the ones. They put all of us through 3 weeks of abject misery. And not only that, but think how sick this is. They brought in first responders who you can tell still carry that night with them. And it's incredibly heavy. And I can't imagine. And they made every single one of those people come up and testify and relive that horror, and Patrick relive it, and his parents. And even if they were called by the defense, they sure as hell made sure to punish them. But they didn't have any of their facts straight. And that's what pisses me off. I honestly don't care about your perspective in this case as long as you bring the facts into it. That is what's been so offensive about these late coming, conservative males who have reduced this to, if you feel at all sympathy for Lindsay, you condone X, Y, or Z. It's the most dumb, stupid, reductive reasoning for people that have built their platforms on making fun of people who make reductive arguments without knowing all the facts. And you didn't have to do that. You have a giant platform. You could have looked at all the facts. You could have taken a serious case and treated it as such. And you may not have come to the same conclusion I did, but at least you would have treated it with seriousness. And you didn't do that. You boiled it down to pitchforks and stupid women. And then touted as though you're the only one who cares for the victims. Well, excuse me if I disagree that taking a reductive take and not doing any sort of research, more of a evaluation, if you will, makes you the least equipped to have any take on this, hot or otherwise. Not because you have a penis, not because you are conservative, because you didn't do your homework.
Hired by the DA to tell this jury that this woman was not suffering from postpartum psychosis, and you in your testimony refer to the fact that you use the DSM to guide you, if that's the right word, in your diagnoses. Would you agree with me that that's a fair statement?
That the DSM is the standard for making diagnoses? Yes.
Right. It's not a very good standard, though, is it?
Well, it is the standard.
It is the standard. How about
Tell me you don't engage in critical self-analyzation, or I can't say that word. I don't know why I always I hate analysis. It's just a terrible word. Tell me you don't engage in any sort of critical self-thought or even any interrogation of your own perspective without saying you don't do that. But it is the standard. Where is your curious mind? Did you go to school to be taught at, or did you go to school to learn? Again, our appointment's at 3, sir. I expect you to be there. Why does he keep talking in typos? It's DMs, not DSMs. I wish. Although, can you imagine this guy's DMs? Dude, I'll pick up the Zima before we go to pickleball. I totally got everything in my fantasy football. He probably is the last remaining member of the Nickelback Facebook page. Remember this photograph. Sir, thanks for keeping the freedom alive. Chad Kruger thanks you for being his only fan. Keep the torch going, dude.
are there other standards, sir, that, like, for example, World Health Organization, International Disease Control, IDC, have you ever heard of them?
Yes.
Okay. Does the IDC, what does that stand for?
The ICD,
What does that stand for?
the International Classification of Disease.
Does that classify postpartum psychosis?
I think it actually does not.
Does it classify, you think, are you sure?
My recollection is that it does not.
Okay. How about postpartum depression? Does the international category indicate that?
I'm not sure. We in the United States.
No.
use the
I'm asking
DSM.
about the ICD or whatever it is.
I don't know.
Okay, that's good enough. This here is what you're talking about, the DSM though, right? 5TR, text revision, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about the fact that at some point in DSM-6, there it appears as though postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis will be added into the DSM-6. Is that correct?
Who said that?
I'm asking you if that's what you mean when you told the jury about it possibly being put into the next edition.
There is a syndrome that's been proposed called postpartum psychosis. So I would differentiate that from the idea that the person of psychosis in a postpartum period. The proposed syndrome of postpartum psychosis has not been included, and I am not aware that it is going to be included, although I understand there are calls for that. I would also say actually the movement for DSM-6 is not necessarily active at this point, but I would highlight again, because I wrote my college history.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. So, if I am to understand things correctly, the rest of the world uses a book or a manual that is on its 14th edition. And in America, We are on the 5th edition. We've been there for, I think, almost a decade. I could be wrong about that. And we have no look to update it at all right now, currently. I just need to be aware of the standard of care that I will receive in Portugal rather than America. He did, and they didn't even have, like, ChatGPT back then. We really should be more respectful of our elders.
Thesis on the history of the DSMs.
What was it, DSM 1, 2, 3 back then?
Well, there's been a classification made by the American Medical Association going back to the end of the 19th century. DSM 1 was in 1952, DSM 2 was in 1968, DSM 3 was in 1980. The major change in 1980 was to fall in, as I discussed earlier, the descriptive model for diagnoses. And that is to say that since DSM-3, diagnostic groups are grouped, or disorders are grouped by what you see, what symptoms we are seeing, not by what we assume is the cause of the illness, and not by any theories about how the illness works. So since DSM-4 in 1994, as a part of making DSM-4, a literature review was completed by Dr. Ellen Frank, which indicated a roadmap for what to include in terms of postpartum designations. And since then, there's been what's called a specifier. So if you highlight depression, you can add a specifier to say when this depression occurred. The limit is that it's a 4-week limit. So under the rules of DSM, after 4 weeks, you wouldn't necessarily, well, you wouldn't call it postpartum. Postpartum psychosis, and here I'm referring mainly to literature, including a review in biological psychiatry in the last 12 months, is a proposal that there is a type of bipolar disorder called postpartum psychosis, where you can have mania or bipolar attributes, you can have depression, you can have delirium. And so when you think about the rules and the guidelines that have been in place since 1980 for revisions of the DSM, they look for, can this category be sufficiently separated from other categories? And does it help treatment? And over time, even though there have been calls, well, there have been hundreds of diagnoses that have been proposed or requested to be in the DSMs, very few new diagnoses get inserted. And right now, that is the situation for the syndrome called postpartum psychosis, that it is not something that has been approved. And I know there are people who are calling for it, but in the current time.
Okay.
Okay. Next question.
Okay.
please.
Thank you. Are you aware, sir, that postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression are pretty much virtually not even mentioned in your DSM-5 TR?
I wouldn't agree with that. I was about to say.
So you would not agree with it, right?
I was about to get to that.
Sure you were, but you would not agree with it, right? Is that correct?
I don't have a basis to say that.
Okay. So looking at, and this is 1,050 pages of people putting together like a cookbook, fair to say, right?
No, I wouldn't call it a cookbook.
No? Would you agree, sir, that postpartum is referred to, page 147, in sex and gender-related diagnostic issues? Would you agree with that, sir?
Is that the introductory chapter?
This is the chapter, sir, that is pertinent to bipolar disorder. You're familiar with it.
Okay, so it's the bipolar chapter.
And referencing 147, sex and gender-related diagnostic issues. You're familiar with that, I imagine, right?
That's a subset. I mean, that's a portion of the chapter, I imagine, that describes.
Right, it's a paragraph.
Okay.
It's a paragraph. Out of 1,000 pages, it's a paragraph.
What's your question?
Women may be more likely to experience rapid cycling and mixed states and to have patterns of comorbidity that differ from those of men, including higher rates of lifetime eating disorders. Come on. This is what they talk about with postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression, eating disorders, and the difference between women and men?
Is that your question? I'm not sure I understand your
How
question.
you answer it, yeah.
What's your question?
Postpartum,
What the witness doesn't understand is that Reddington has gone from interrogating him to interrogating his profession. So he is not aware that the questions are more of, again, this is theatrical. There really is no way for him to answer these correctly, but he has gone, and I need you to understand just how masterful this is. Reddington is using this man to excoriate the mental health industrial complex. He has gone from simply eviscerating this man's public credentials and authority and in reliability and gone to his entire profession's Bible. Now, not everyone sees all of these things in like stereo like I do, but it is a profound shift in where Kevin Reddington is aiming his questions. And because the witness doesn't understand this and is kind of sadly lacking in the ability to perceive the entire change of this, it's incredibly scary. I'm watching this. I am expecting Dr. Mack to be a professional observer, and the fact that he doesn't get that there has been a profound change in the tone, tenor, and the actual audience that Reddington is excoriating is scary.
disorders, sir, the difference between women and men, and they make reference to eating disorders.
Well, I think the section header, if you don't mind reading it again, was aspects about gender. And so in that section, I imagine they're describing it. I didn't write the DSM, so I'm not here to represent it.
Okay,
I can just tell you about it.
all right. Okay, right here, sex and gender-related diagnostic issues, right? Would you agree that's under the bipolar and related disorder section?
Yeah.
The DSM, okay. Page 147 talks about women more likely to experience rapid cycling and mixed states and have patterns of comorbidity that differ from those of men, including higher rates of lifetime eating disorders, right? Did I read that right? That's all right. Okay. And then it goes on for the rest of the paragraph that women with bipolar 1, read along, or 2 disorder are more likely to experience depressive symptoms than are men. I read that right? Yeah. That they, meaning women apparently, have a higher lifetime risk of alcohol use disorder than men. Really? Did I read that right?
Yes.
And that they also, and much greater likelihood of alcohol misuse disorder than women in the general population. Some women with bipolar disorder experience exacerbation of mood symptoms during their premenstrual time period. Right?
It says that,
Yeah. And that this has been associated with a worse course of illness. Many women with bipolar disorder also report severe emotional disturbances during perimenopause.
MLS, all I can say is that I have made my own unicorns. I've tried to get into the mindset of the Commonwealth, who believes that mental health can be reduced to a pink unicorn in the corner, and apparently the DSM that now believes that, well, all women are just hysterical. Although DSM, if we're stuck in the past, I would like to be able to treat all of my maladies the way the Victorians treated a hysterical woman. If you get that joke, it's rather dirty, but I'm just saying. It seemed to be more effective in the Victoria era. Also, access to laudanum didn't, hurt. But I'm just saying, I will start treating all of my mental health like the Victorians did. Look that up. It's hysterical. And something the Victorians did. They were prudes, but there you go.
When estrogen levels are decreasing. Did I read that right?
Sorry.
Wait, because
It does say that.
okay. And that there does not appear to be an increased risk of mood episodes in pregnant women with bipolar disorder, except for those who discontinue medications for pregnancy, right? Is that what it says that in the DSM?
Yes,
Right.
it does.
So what does that tell you, in 25 words or less, sir, when that sentence where it talks about
Jennifer, see, and yet I posit still more effective than how we're currently treating mental health at this moment. The amount of people that are on the devil's lettuce gummies and have their own personal marital aids. We do the Victorians proud.
there does not appear to be an increased risk of mood episodes in pregnant women with bipolar disorder except for those who discontinue medication for pregnancy. What does that mean?
What it means is when thinking about women who have bipolar disorder who are pregnant, the risk of having either a manic episode or a hypomanic episode or a depressive episode generally stays stable compared to when the person is not pregnant, except in people who do not take medications for bipolar during the pregnancy.
And then it goes on to read, the specifier with peripartum onset should be used for mood episodes that begin.
What is he looking at? No, the witness in particular, it's like he's looking at the Commonwealth. Again, there had been allegations that there were some secret Spidey, like, short stop kind of things going on, and it very much looks like he's looking over at like mom and mom to see if he'll get help.
Onset should be used for mood episodes that begin during pregnancy or within 4 weeks of delivery. Is that the 4-week cutoff that you're telling the jury about?
That's the 4-week cutoff. That's on that specifier, the peripartum specifier.
When was this last amended? 1958?
This
That deserves a unicorn. Yay for representing mental health like Goebbels would have in the 30s. See, Kevin Reddington gives them credit, but I liken to the Commonwealth's representation more to a Goebbels-esque. There has been a distinct othering, and it's a particular. I do want to explore this sometime in depth, but there is a particular kind of malicious dehumaning that women will do to other women. And if you notice it, the Commonwealth has been very, very quick to other and dehuman Lindsay. They have noted the instead of having, even if you hate Lindsay, see, there is a strategic sort of element in understanding that she is going to garner sympathy. So there is a way that you would have to handle her. But there is a specific malice and deep hatred that is almost pathological that's being displayed in the Commonwealth that they cannot. It is actually genuinely fascinating to watch two so-called professionals so unable to deal with their emotions and whatever about Lindsay, because it's not what they're saying. Notice what they attack. They attacked her for fitness and having a comfortable life and looking at having a nanny. They have attacked very superficial things about her. And there is a sort of clinical dehumanization that happens when you want to make someone a target of all your ire. You have to take away their humanity and their sympathy. And there is a certain kind of woman that, for whatever reason, there is a block, a competition, an instant dislike of other women on a level that just wants them to destroy. And because we live here forever, no politics here. This isn't a political channel. I totally respect your right to have a complete and total political identity. I do too, but we just don't talk about it on this channel. There's too many things that divide us. This is already a divisive case, so welcome. Just no politics.
Well, you're talking about the 4-week number?
Yeah.
That was created in DSM-4 in 1994.
And how about the World Health Organization? What's their cutoff, using that term?
I don't know. I can tell you that the proponents of
ahead.
postpartum psychosis, the illness, utilize, I believe, 12 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, but not more than 12.
How about the, what is it, IDC, ICD?
The World Health Organization's international
If I
classification.
tell you it's a year, would that mean anything to you? It's not 6, maybe 12, it's a year.
Does it mean anything to me?
Yeah, does it mean anything to you?
With regard to what?
It's a year. You're talking about 4 weeks, but they're referring to a year.
Well, the distinction between the ICD and the DSM is substantial. The DSM,
All right. Mr. Reddington, why don't you ask a question?
Thank you. So would you agree with me, sir, that the way that women are treated postpartum, after having babies, prior to having babies in Europe is a heck of a lot different than we treat women here, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
So that paragraph that we just went through, we're talking about sex and gender-related diagnostic issues, right?
yes,
They mentioned the words postpartum, period. They mentioned, I don't mean period like the end of the sentence, I mean postpartum, period. They mentioned that, right?
yes,
And I read that correct. That's a paragraph, right?
yes,
And then out of the 1,050 pages, we can then go to another, page 156. Sex and gender-related diagnostic issues. And it makes reference to the gender ratio for bipolar 1 disorder, right?
okay,
Would you agree that the gender ratio for bipolar 1 disorder is equal between women and men?
yes,
And does it then go on and say that bipolar 2 disorder are mixed, differing by type or sample? There is little or no evidence of bipolar gender difference in the general population. And some, but not all, clinical examples suggest that bipolar 2 disorder is more common in women than in men. Is that right?
it may be. As I was,
Because you want to look at it, or it may be because they might be wrong.
well, women have depression more than men, unfortunately. And so that is something that it gets reflected when it comes to bipolar type 2.
So patterns of illness and comorbidity, however, differ by sex, with females being more likely than males to report hypomania. Does that sound right?
It sounds right.
And that women would have mixed depressive features and a rapid.
So what the DSM does make clear is that while they go on in one sentence to say that there's no real expressive difference between genders in bipolar, they go on to spend several subsequent paragraphs explaining how bipolar, and I guess especially bipolar 2, is more expressed or more diagnosed in women, and that women's both manic and basically women will manifest the same symptoms in different ways. I didn't think you needed 3 paragraphs to understand that there might be different ways that everyone will manifest mental health differently. But basically, it shows the inherent contradiction in the DSM-5. The first sentence says there's no real clear gender, diagnostic criteria, that there doesn't seem to be anything that lines up on a gender basis, then goes on to spend 3 paragraphs stating that women seem to only, do this, this, and this. And have express the symptomology in this way. So it does show the inherent contradiction in the DSM-5, and clinicians riding both side of the sword, so to speak, saying there are no gender differences, but there is a distinct pattern in the frequency in how females are diagnosed, how many females are diagnosed, the distribution of those diagnoses, and how they express them. Which you would think would negate the first sentence, but no, not in our DSM-5. Women, am I right? I know.
Cycling course, correct?
That sounds right.
And childbirth may be a trigger for the hypomanic episode, which can occur in 10 to 20% of females. In non-clinical populations, most typically in the early postpartum period. Does that sound right to you?
It sounds, I mean, you're reading it, so I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And there's a big difference between DSM and WHO, right?
I don't know the WHO's 12 months, what it refers to. When it comes to the proposed postpartum psychosis, one of the elements of the proposal is that it is particularly related to the physiologic changes that happen at the time of birth. And actually, one of the objections that that group has to the way that the DSM is written right now is that they would like it to be solely post-birth rather than one that encompasses pregnancy and birth, because it aligns with the theory that this type of disorder is related to those physiologic changes. So the timing of being closest to birth is instrumental in that proposal for postpartum psychosis, the disorder. When it's described as a disorder that occurs almost right away at the time of birth. And it is urgent.
Who says that? Who?
The literature on postpartum psychosis, whether it's postpartum psychosis.
What literature? It's not in the Bible, right?
Well, it's not in the Bible, but the reports by the people who are advocates, an expert consensus panel who are advocates for inclusion of the syndrome of postpartum psychosis.
And they've been trying real hard.
Let him finish.
Well, he's just going to go on for another half hour.
I'll finish, Doctor. Go ahead.
I don't have anything more, sorry.
All right, go ahead.
Would you agree with me, sir, as it relates to this panel of people that you're talking about? These are the people that are trying to get postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression.
Me, every small talk. Okay, but I could say something inappropriate and they can walk away and I'm done with small talk. My mom was not a fan of that approach. I have learned how to do small talk, but apparently saying inappropriate things in self-defense in order to get away from small talk is not how we deal with things. Are you Thor? Oh, hell no. No, we need to name and shame a cat right now. No. Be named and shamed. Sir, no. This right here just climbed up near me, snuggled in and tooted. What have you been? Oh, dear God, what have you been eating? No, don't luxuriate in the smell. Oh, God, what? Why? How can he be afflicted with greater smelling than me? And he's just like, I'm fine now. Oh, I think I just look, he's not even ashamed. He's over here luxuriating. What now? Have you sensed something? Are you going to go eat something else that'll destroy you and my wallpaper?
Into the DSM-6, right?
I don't think they're trying to get postpartum depression included because it already is there.
In the two paragraphs that I just read?
No.
Okay, is there somewhere else that talks about postpartum depression?
Yes.
Okay, where?
Well, the report mentions, and I'll find for you what are called the specifiers, where for both bipolar disorder and also for depressive disorders.
There you go.
Well, it's in there, but I'll find it in the book.
Okay. Why don't you look for it?
Why don't we do one thing at a time?
Yeah, I'd
Right?
like to.
And that would be, you said you're going to find it. Just find it.
Okay.
And then once you find it, then we'll go on to the second part, which would be asking questions and answering questions.
So Someone get this judge a bourbon or a Frosty on the way home. This man needs it. The court clerk done opened her White Claw. Someone get this man a Frosty or a Werther's. He just needs some sugar, okay? Thank you so much.
So right here on page 173, read it. I'll describe what I'm talking about before I read it, if that's okay. So this is the section, actually starts on page 169.
Oh God. No offense, sir, but you need to go back to Dr. Tavel's because you look kind of bell-end shaped to begin with, but those glasses make you look. I didn't think it was possible for you to look more penular and phallic, but you actually do look more phallic with your glasses on. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it doesn't help. Get black frames or something. No.
Where it goes through what are called the specifiers for the bipolar disorders. And so those include with atypical features, with rapid cycling, with melancholic features. And here on page 173 is the portion about with peripartum onset.
Read it.
Well, let me see how many paragraphs it is. It's many paragraphs. Do you want me to read all of them?
No, that's all right. Just summarize it as best you can.
What I would summarize, and a similar passage is in the chapter on depressive disorders, is that it provides a way to designate that somebody's depressive disorder, or in this case, their bipolar disorder, had peripartum onset. Now that's important, and they provide a lot of important information there about epidemiology and the course, by course I mean how it's going to go in terms of the disease. That's what the DSM does. Besides giving criteria for disorders, it provides basic information about course, epidemiology.
You don't even actually believe that postpartum is a thing beyond being a manifestation of bipolar 2 disorder. So how can it possibly give out a treatment for something that it seems like your profession negates its very existence? Again, how can you at one point say it is a real thing, and then you have decided to create the parameters as such that most women won't fall under the criteria because they don't go see a doctor until 6 to 8 weeks after having a baby. So by then, clinically, they're past your postpartum psychosis stage, so they won't even be labeled as such if they seek help. So explain to me, that is a summation of what it says in the DSM, sir. That's what Reddington was looking for. That to the point that you acknowledge that it actually is a thing, you put the parameters so short that unless a woman manifests it before she is typically due back to her doctor, it's not going to be caught and therefore not diagnosed, and therefore doesn't really exist now, does it?
And the features that the individual has. So there's a similar section in the depressive disorders.
Let's stick with the section that you just pointed out. Okay?
Yes, sir.
You'd agree with me in a nutshell that talks about with psychotic features, delusions, hallucinations present at any time in the current manic or major depressive episode in bipolar 1 disorder, right?
No, I'd have to see what you're reading from.
Okay, sure, it's right here.
Yeah, but that's a different portion.
No, that's what you were reading from. Okay,
No,
so
sir.
how about down below here where it says with peripartum onset?
Yes, that was what I was referring
The
to.
specifier, what's a specifier?
So the system has a way where we can emphasize features of a person's illness. Remember, as I said, the groupings in the DSM revolve around the major psychiatric symptoms. So this is the bipolar chapter, there's a depression chapter, there's an anxiety chapter. So here, the specifier is our way of communicating that the person's problem, in this case, has peripartum onset.
Okay.
And as if I could connect it all, the emphasis.
The problem with being an arrogant douche is when you are found lacking in let's say your quiver is empty, it comes off as bloviating bullshit. And you have reached that point. Your quiver is empty. You do not have an authoritative rock to stand on. You are standing upon quicksand while you are sinking, proselytizing to us. Do you understand the fool you are making of yourself by continuing to try to maintain your facade of arrogance and knowledge? Because all I am seeing is a mad preacher sinking in quicksand, preaching that he is right, that the world is not ending and all is well, as he sinks further and further into quicksand, looking down at us from as he slowly sinks to where he has to look up for us as peons, never changing his perspective.
On the proposed postpartum psychosis disorder, they object to it being peripartum. They would like it to be postpartum.
And who's they?
The authors of the expert consensus group that I referred to published a paper in Biological Psychiatry in the last year.
About what? I mean, psychiatry covers a large ground.
Yes. It's a paper that summarizes information about this proposed disorder, highlights their assumption that it is actually a type of bipolar disorder.
Can I just interrupt? What disorder are you referring to?
The proposed postpartum psychosis disorder.
All right. So there is a group of people that are trying, to your knowledge, to get postpartum disorder in the next version of the Bible, right?
Effectively, yes,
Okay.
but I wouldn't use all those words, but yes.
Okay. And then when you're referring to the peripartum,
There, right there, where it has been the first. Again, sir, I need you to, bald guy, I need you to understand that that was the first bit of intellectual humility and actual inquisitiveness that you've shown. Your job is to listen to people and interpret their cries for help effectively. You have only now understood Reddington's language, what he's trying to get to you, and his deeper motivations. That's entirely scary that you have been talking to this man for almost an hour or more, and you have only now understood how to communicate with him. What would you say you do in your profession?
onset, in one paragraph, you're talking about the specifier applied to current manic, hypomanic, or major depressive episode in bipolar 1 disorder, right? Did I read that right?
Well, it's more than just one
Okay, let's
paragraph. It
just
goes
stick
on
with-
to
let's
all
just
the
stick
next.
with-
All right, counsel, let me see counsel at sidebar here, just so you got,
Now, we will be jumping in to, I believe, more cross on Monday. So I did want to at least get through this, but I also knew now I will be altering the shirt. I will be adding a bow, but I just look, it felt like the sort of day where I was going to need a little bit of my homeboy here to remind me not to nuke my channel when encountering stupid. But I will be adding a bow to Satan, if you will. That might have been the funniest part of Wreck-It Ralph. It's pronounced Satine. And it only makes me laugh because as a dyslexic, chaotic mom, I may have given my kids may have gotten all of their Christmas gifts from Satan one year instead of Santa. But in my defense, it was 3 a.m. and a Robler came in. Which, explains everything. If you are, I swear to goodness, if you are lifting that tail to fart at me again, sir, you are exiled from my room for the rest of the day. I don't know what you ate. I apologize. Sorry. Sometimes I have to have distinct talks with Thor, the cat, in order not to get, attacked. Thank you guys for watching this with me. If this is the caliber of experts, and typically what I have seen the state do is bring their best expert first. If this is their best, I am ordering popcorn. I am ordering so much popcorn for their next witness. We will be back watching the Lindsay Clancy trial. We will be starting at 11. That way we can usually fast forward through all of the breaks and the side bars and get done normally about the same time. Let's see who is streaming right now that I can redirect you guys to. I will be continuing to craft. Now, gentle reminder that, as always, with a general caveat that people who have been here know, in no way do we disrespect or demean the victims or the human tragedy at the bottom of the trial, but we will sure as hell make fun of and disrespect incompetence and stupidity. So I have a trio of mockery cosplays on option for closing statements. We have the Saran Wrap Bow amalgamation. Uh, for, uh from Fried Green Tomatoes. We have Cindy Lou Who, I have a giant Grinch bow, and then we have Siren of Cape Bow, a sort of Hans Christian Andersen, scary mermaid. Not sure exactly how any of those tie into the case, but they were fun to think of as costumes, and who hasn't seen Fried Green Tomatoes and wanted to make a Saran Wrap dress without getting, sued from UPS? I mean, just me. But basically, there is a poll up on the community page of this channel, Mo in the Deep End. Vote early, vote often. I have things in store for any of the costumes that you pick. But right now, the scary mermaid from Siren or Bow Cape is definitely winning. Um, she was going to help the Commonwealth, but her ship ran ashore on, well, island logic. I'll have her entire backstory by the time closings is here, but I'm having a blast crafting. And also, on that note, after this trial, I will be doing sort of a staycation kind of thing. I will still be doing mornings with Mo and sort of, other different videos on this channel, but I will be kind of doing live streams and other things on my craft channel, Mo and the Craft End. Uh, like this, I just got into it, but this is just a fun little hair thing. Basically, it's what I do to unwind. Cross stitch, diamond paint right now, making weird hair accessories, and, customizable red flags. Uh, that's my stomach. Mr. Mo is bringing lunch, so I am looking for someone to redirect you to. At least it's a stomach rumble and not an anywhere else rumble. I do generally try to mute, you from that, at least. Okay, it does not if anyone knows if anyone is live streaming right now currently, I do not see anyone that I would normally stream or send you guys to for live streams, so I guess you guys are free to go wherever you want to go on the interwebs. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and again, gentle reminder, let's reach out to, everyone in our life, make sure they're doing okay, and maybe have a simple conversation about thank you, J. Kitty Buck, I was getting ready to cover it, but thanks for that. Um, but, we do know that the system is broken, and I don't know how to fix that, but I do know how to reach out and ask my friends if they're okay, and really ask, and be a place to listen if they are. And we might not be able to fix a broken system, you know, but we can definitely check in on each other and be better at that. Sometimes the internet has made it really easy to, think we're doing, friend check-ins, but sometimes we need to call, we need to do a little bit more. Just a thought. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday, and I will see you for Mornings with Mo at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, where I bring you the headlines that you need, and then mostly the headlines that make you question the timeline. So I will see you there. Bye, you guys.